Hi, my name is Andrew Kenyon. I'm the Ethics and Compliance Manager at the Research Foundation. We've made 2 changes to our Corporate Conflict of Interest, or COI policy. I'm going to share a quick rundown of these updates and what they mean for you as an RF representative. This will also give you a general overview of what conflicts are and when you need to report them. First, I want to clarify the policy I'm talking about. The RF has 2 distinct policies that govern potential conflicts of interest: the Corporate COI policy and the Conflicts of Interest in Public Health Service Sponsored Programs policy. This Corporate COI policy governs all employees and representatives of the RF while carrying out any RF activity, and this incorporates applicable New York State requirements. The other policy, the Conflicts of Interest in Public Health Service Sponsored Programs policy, targets conflicts that can affect the design, conduct, or reporting of research, and is responsive to federal regulatory requirements, often referred to as FCOI. The policy I'm discussing in this video is the Corporate COI policy. In general, this policy applies to the RF's administrative work and not the actual conduct of research, although principal investigators are subject to this policy when they're carrying out their PI responsibilities, like managing RF employees and using RF money. This is separate and in addition to PI obligations under the FCOI regulations. The first change we made to the corporate policy requires all conflicts to be disclosed electronically using our centralized compliance management system. Some RF representatives are assigned a disclosure and are required to complete it every year, whether they have potential conflicts to report or not. These annual filers already use our compliance system for this, and the change does not affect them. Everyone else needs to report any potential conflicts situationally, as they arise, but aren't required to complete a disclosure on an annual basis if they don't have any conflicts to report. If you are in this category, you just need to disclose any conflicts at the time they come up. We call this a situational disclosure. Annual filers also need to submit a situational disclosure anytime a new conflict comes up, and not wait for the next annual disclosure to be assigned. For example, if your spouse or another close relative takes a job with a company that you know is an RF vendor at your location, or if you join a board for an outside organization that has some connection to the RF, you would need to submit a situational disclosure. There's nothing wrong with these kinds of situations happening. It's just important to report potential conflicts through this process so the situations can be proactively reviewed and managed if necessary. In the past, non-annual filers had the option of using the RF compliance system, but otherwise these disclosures were handled locally. Going forward, all conflict disclosures governed by the corporate COI policy need to be submitted using our centralized compliance management system. If you need to disclose a potential conflict and haven't used this system for this before, contact us at rfcompliance@rfsuny.org. We will assign a disclosure for you and give you instructions for completing it. Central office employees will already have one assigned to them automatically in the system. We recognize that some campuses already have their own electronic conflict management systems, so we are allowing 2 exceptions to this part of the policy. If your campus has a local electronic system for managing conflicts, and the RF's Chief Compliance Officer approves this, you can use that local electronic system instead of the RF's. Our policy also allows an exception for PIs to disclose conflicts related to this corporate policy in PACS or their campus's equivalent system. However, PIs that use PACS to disclose potential conflicts per the corporate policy should be sure to inform their local compliance officials that the review of potential conflicts should include an analysis of requirements under New York State Public Officers Law, not just the FCOI regulations. To ensure that state and corporate requirements are reviewed, we recommend that PIs contact the RF's Office of Compliance Services and disclose these conflicts in our system in addition to the one used to comply with FCOI regulations. Although this is an extra step, it will ensure these conflicts are properly managed according to state law and this policy. Your local process for reviewing financial conflicts of interest may or may not evaluate conflicts from this additional perspective, and you can't assume this is happening. Conflict-related definitions and analysis are very different under our policy and state law, as opposed to federal FCOI regulations. For example, FCOI regulations define a significant financial conflict as a financial interest exceeding a certain threshold, typically $5,000. There's no dollar threshold for a conflict to exist under New York law or our policy. In fact, conflicts don't even need to involve a financial interest. For example, having an unpaid affiliation with an outside organization could be a conflict if that organization does business with the RF. Conflicts can include things like sharing confidential information or using RF resources without authorization to benefit an outside entity or person. Most conflicts can be managed, but they need to be disclosed and addressed through this process. This will protect both you and the Research Foundation. The second change to this policy is related to procurement activities. We've added language saying that it would be a conflict for the RF or any RF representative to accept anything of value from a vendor or prospective vendor while a procurement decision is underway, or will be underway soon, involving that vendor. Even if you're not directly involved with the procurement decision, you need to make sure you're not accepting any gifts, travel reimbursements, food, or anything else from a vendor while an agreement with the RF is pending. To sum up, be sure to report any potential conflicts that come up in the RF compliance system, unless a different electronic system has been approved. If you're not sure, check with our office. Also, be extra alert to any potential conflicts involving a vendor or potential vendor with a contract decision underway. If you have any questions about this policy or a potential conflict, or to have a disclosure assigned in our system, please contact us at rfcompliance@rfsuny.org. Thank you.